Joe Ryan has been struggling a little bit, had one of his worst starts on the road trip. He was sick, so it's possible that explains most of it.
Right.
Allowed 5 runs in the first inning, was pulled after 2 innings. He had walked 4 guys at that point, which he hadn't done in 4 years. But I will say this: even if that does explain that one bad outing, because he did look pretty miserable physically. He's now allowed 5 or more runs in 4 of his last 8 outings,
Yeah.
and prior to that, he did it only 4 total times in 50 outings.
Yeah.
And so this was always the big question with Joe Ryan: is can he get across the finish line of a season,
Yep.
175 innings or more, pitching as well as he did in April and May and June, and he's yet to be able to do that either because of injuries, struggles,
Mostly
some
because of
combination.
injuries, right?
Right.
Yes, right. That's right.
And that was the big question. And I will also note that I think he was probably, from a mentality standpoint, the single most affected player who remained after the deadline.
Fair.
A,
Yeah.
he's just prone to having strong opinions about stuff, which I appreciate. B, he thought he had been traded because he saw an erroneous Fox Sports report that said he had been
Right.
traded to the Red Sox, which was right before the deadline and stayed up for like 10 or 12 minutes. And so people were texting him saying, "Oh man, sorry to hear it. You're bye." But also, I think he takes it the hardest, and we've talked about this with him with regard to like umpires making bad calls.
Right.
One bad call can send him spiraling on the mound, and on the same sentiment, one bad play behind him defensively, it's not like he shouts at his fielders or
Sure.
something, but you can see it from a body language standpoint, and he often has to kind of reset after that. Well, I mean, what is he seeing after the deadline? He's seeing just losses piling up, whether he's on the mound or not. He's seen the defense behind him just erode to the point that even like routine plays are no longer routine a lot of the time. And he's probably dealing with, durability and fatigue and all that, which is normal for any pitcher. But like I said, he's in this point of the season. But like I said, he's never kind of gotten to this point and, made it across the finish line without issues. And so I think you add all that up, and I'm very curious to see his last 3 or 4 starts
Yeah.
here. If he can finish on a high note for himself, for the team, but also to kind of check that box. He made the All-Star team. He's clearly
Right.
one of the best pitchers in the league. Like from a talent
But
perspective, from a
yeah, but he could
results
have made the
perspective.
All-Star game the past few
Right.
years as well, and he still didn't finish well, right? Or
Right.
he finished hurt, right?
And he's talked about that. Like he felt three years in a row he was an All-Star caliber pitcher at the time they chose the
Yes.
game, and he's right.
Right.
But it's a hard argument to kind of obsess about when you faded and were injured in 2 of those, and now we'll see. Now, I'm not positioning what we've seen from him over the last 6 weeks as anywhere near, fading, falling
Sure.
apart. I mean, his ERA is still 3.33 or something like that. It hasn't been that bad, but he has not looked as sharp as you have come to expect from a healthy Joe Ryan. And I think part of that is just the fatigue element of September. I think part of that is he's been sick a few
Right.
different times in the second half for whatever reason. And then I think part of it, honestly, is just talking to him and looking at him. It seems like he's affected by the losing, by the trade situation, by maybe just as simple as thinking for a half hour that he'd been traded. Um, and he's also just talked more openly than most about what he thinks of the trade deadline, what he thinks. He talked to Phil Miller the other day on the road trip about how they letting Gray go was
Yeah.
a huge mistake. And these are all true things, by the way. This is not a criticism of Joe Ryan, but Joe Ryan likes to talk, and Joe
Right.
Ryan
Yes.
isn't afraid of saying his opinion about stuff. And I think you fold all that in, and it seems like a guy who is sort of in a spot where he's not thrilled with the way he's pitching, the team around him, the situation around him.
He
And I
might have a
can't,
little more trouble focusing right now than he was in, say, April, May, or
yeah. Now,
July.
he did 2 outings ago, had a great
Yep,
outing.
you're right.
Maybe he goes out against Arizona, he throws 6 shutout, and we can put this conversation to bed. I would love to do that. But
And the flip side to that is Bailey Ober, who finally had a decent outing in his last outing versus the Kansas City Royals. We'll see.
I don't want to crap on that, but when he's throwing 89 miles an hour, I can't get excited
I
about it.
hear you.
Yes, you're right. He
Do,
was effective against the Royals, but
I think one of the things we hope to learn, maybe over this beginning of this homestand, is whether or not the Twins are going to be sticking with what they've been rolling out a 6-man rotation here.
right.
They've got the 3 veterans going here versus the Diamondbacks, and that would line up the 3 younger pitchers to all be going against the Yankees next week.
Good luck, guys.
That's right, exactly. Uh, I don't think we kind of thought they'd be sticking with the 6-man rotation. I wasn't sure that Bailey Ober would be making a start after that start in Kansas City, because I still feel like he's the obvious one to be pulled out of
Right.
that rotation if you're going to do that. But
I'll say this.
maybe they will maybe they'll piggyback some guys or something.
I just straight up asked Rocco Baldelli the last game of the last homestand, are you going to go with a 6-man rotation? And he told me maybe as we fold Pablo Lopez back in, it will become briefly a 6-man rotation,
Right.
but that is not the plan down the stretch.
And welcome to the end of this video. There's lots more. For another, just click on one of these boxes.
Or click on this circle in the middle to subscribe to all of our Twins Talk.
Thank you.
Gleeman